We've spent over 10 years on air, shaping a generation of action motorsports, and now we're changing the game again. The best motorsports, the best action sports, and the best of pop culture with some epic guests thrown in. I am Jim Beaver, and this is the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Hold on tight, the misadventure is just getting started. Welcome to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. This is kind of our debut episode of 2023. I know we've dropped a couple of shows so far. This year's been a weird year, and it's been derailed from the start. Not derailed, but we lost good friends of mine, both Ken Block and Robbie Pierce. And, so I felt like it was important not to kick off and hype up everything that's going on. Let's kind of lay tribute to two guys who really had a big impact on the show. Ken, obviously, I've said that story before. Go back and listen to that best of interview that I aired a couple of weeks ago. But he was a big influence in the show and a big supporter over the years. Definitely wouldn't be where I'm at today without Ken Block. And Robbie Pierce, another guy that behind the scenes, him and Kelly, were very impactful in the show. Robbie, he was one of the ones that, really kind of opened my eyes to IndyCar, NHRA, things like that. Stayed at his house in Indianapolis for my first ever Indy 500. Robbie, just a solid dude, and did a lot for this show. And so, aired a tribute in regards to Robbie Pierce as well. So now this is kind of our 2023, I guess, kickoff show. Right now, obviously, Best of the Desert Parker race got canceled. A lot of you know that. And, due to that, the desert racing season kind of really hasn't got underway. King of the Hammer is going to be a big one. I'm going to be out there doing 2 to 3 shows on site at KOH. I'll have Matt Martelli, co-hosting with me, and we're going to be with Kawasaki, and we're planning on 2 to 3 shows out there. So, that's going to kick off. But, obviously we've got Supercross going on, A1 in the books. We've got San Diego this weekend, and, Oakland getting canceled because it was flooded. My guest today, this is going to be a fun interview, somebody I've known for quite a while. First time going to have him on the show. Marketing genius, been behind the scenes with Jeremy McGrath's program. He's part owner in a company called Motorsports Curated, that I've done a lot of work with to help grow social media, things like that. So, yes, today we're going to be definitely talking a lot of Supercross. We're going to be talking a lot of behind the scenes in motorsport, and probably give you guys some insight on how to grow your social media. Obviously, Motorsports Curated can help you, but man, this is a fun one. General motorsports talk, industry talk. Going to talk a lot about some of the people behind the scenes that we like. That have done a lot for us. I don't want to say but that have done a lot for us, and just talk about the industry in general, and definitely talk about the 2023 Supercross season, because Motorsports Curated is definitely shoulders deep into Supercross this year with Jet Lawrence. So they've currently got an El Hombre, Jason Anderson promotion going on that I'm a part of as well. So Motorsports Curated, Albert Garcia there, a good friend of mine. He is going to be the guest today, and really looking forward to this one. And who knows where the heck that interview is going to go, or the show today. But thank you guys for all the continued support. Man, what is this, like year 12, year 13 for me? We started out in 2011. It's crazy. It's been wild. I know here in the next couple of weeks, got episode number 500. Obviously it was Down and Dirty Show. Now it's the Jim Beaver Show, episode number 500. That doesn't count all my Project Actions, my Rally Americas, my special editions, stuff like that. Literally weekly numbered shows, episode number 500 coming up here in a month or two. So definitely looking forward to dropping that. We'll bring out some star-studded guests for that. I am excited to do things in a big, big way for that. So, yes, that coming up here, something for you guys to look forward to as well in a few weeks, maybe about a month. I don't know. Depends on how many shows at King of the Hammers you do, stuff like that. So, yeah, lots to look forward to. But you know what? You're tired of me rambling already. We need to get to Albert, so we're going to take a short commercial break. We come back. We're going to have Albert Garcia with Motorsports Curated right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Making the most of every moment can be demanding, which is why at General Tire, we think you should demand more from your tires. For more than a century, we've made great all-around tires that always deliver the right combination of performance, durability, style, and value. Whether you're looking at the ultra-high-performance summer tires for your street rod or the best-in-class all-weather tire for your family crossover, General Tire delivers for those who demand more from their tires. Find your fit at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, the official tire of the Jim Beaver Show.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
Like what you're hearing? Do us a favor and head over to Apple Podcasts and rate, review, and subscribe to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki and never miss another show. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show, here with a good friend of mine, Albert Garcia, with Motorsports Curated, and then for those who create. Man, Albert, we've been talking about doing this for a couple of years now. Stoked to finally have you on here, brother.
Yeah, no doubt, Jim. I'm stoked to be on. It's good to catch up with you and just hear what's going on.
Well, I think that's it. I mean, you and I don't know, it's like we randomly catch up here and there, but I don't know. I know how much I travel, and I got a feeling like you're one of the guys that probably has me clipped as far as the traveling goes, dude, because you're on it, but this year, especially what you guys have going at Motorsports Curated, I feel like you're going to be on the road more often you're at your bed at home, man.
Yeah, man, I plan, I love traveling, it just keeps that perspective on life, and it's all fun. But, yeah, man, we got a lot of fun stuff planned this year with Curated. Giving away all these bikes. It's always a blast. And seeing perspective of all the different sides of the country. And we're rolling up to these winners' houses, right? We're going to South Carolina, Texas, Utah. We're just going to all these different demographic of places this year and dropping all these bikes off. So it's going to be a blast. I can't wait. And just really stoked to see some more smiles on these faces that we continue to deliver to.
Well, and I think that's one of the funny things, and we'll loop everybody in on Motorsports Curated here in a minute, but it's like a lot of people enter something online, and they never think they're going to win, you know what I mean? And they see, like, these pie-in-the-sky prizes and stuff like that, but it's like, what you guys are doing, it's rad, because, I mean, they're seeing these people that are just like them win these prizes, that at some point, some of these bikes, things like that they're winning, I mean, some people can never afford a bike that nice, maybe they're finding a used bike or something that's beat up for $1,000, but they're not going to be able to have a bike of the caliber that you guys are giving away, and here's these people, walking away with a brand new dirt bike going, oh, man, this is awesome, man. That's got to be a good feeling, almost like Publishers Clearinghouse when you show up at the door, right?
I mean, yeah, no doubt. Honestly, Jim, it's a high of its own. When we get to their house, me and my business partner, John, we get the little shakes, we get the nervousness. Are we going to get a reaction? Are we not? Are they going to cry? Are they going to punch us in the face? So it's a real high when we do this. And it's like, I grew up not being able to have access to these things. I grew up with getting bikes off Craigslist. Maybe my first only bike I ever had brand new was my 50, right? So just even now at this point when I can go buy the bike I need, right? But it's like being able to give, just like you said, give these bikes to people that probably couldn't afford a $10, $12, $15,000 dirt bike these days. It's a completely different feeling. And I think that's what we continuously chase as well, is that high every time, right? When we travel, it's fun, but there's nothing that can compare when you're giving someone a brand new dirt bike that would, you know what I mean? It's something I can't even sometimes put into words. So it's also just very grateful also to be in that position, Yeah.
Well, I got to say, if there was ever the healthiest high you can have, I'm like, you guys have found it. You guys are chasing a high that, like, I support, completely. I'm like giving rad stuff to people. I'm like, dude, if that's the high you get, chase that all you want, brother. Because I think more people should be chasing that high, dude.
No doubt. And again, Jim, when we started this, and again, like you said, we'll dive into just how this goes, but we didn't know that was going to be a high, right? I mean, again, like, I never had this stuff growing up. And so when we did this, we just saw the business side of it. And then we delivered that first bike and we saw this reaction. we were like, holy shit, we kind of have something going here. You know what I mean? And it was kind of one of those moments where it was like, wow, and we got to keep this going. And now we're going on, I believe bike 26, down to Can-Am. And, so it's amazing, man. And the traveling this year is going to continue to ramp up, and we have some more things in store to kind of hype up the experience. So it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, and, let's dive into Motorsports Curated, because I want to talk about your career and industry, and we'll talk a lot about that. But we're already talking about Motorsports Curated. So let's dive into this, because I know a couple of years ago, you and I didn't know each other, but I saw this kind of pop up, and I had seen there was some celebrities doing some stuff like that, where basically it's to increase your following in organic way, because there's a lot of these fly-by-night places that you can go and you can spend $100 and get 10,000 followers on Instagram that are all these spam accounts from Bangladesh or something like that. You know what I mean? That they don't interact, they don't engage. It's all just bot accounts and garbage. You guys took the other way. It's like, all right, let's increase social media followings, but let's do it in a quality way with people in the endemic. You know what I mean? And it's one of the raddest things I think I've ever seen, and I've seen a few celebrities doing things where they give away like a Gucci bag, and then, and people go and follow certain accounts, but it's kind of crap. Like the way you guys have tailor-made it for the motorsports and the power sports audience, man, it's pretty crazy. So I guess first off, how did this all come about, and then tell us a little bit about, a lot of our listeners probably don't understand how these programs work, but, kind of give us a background, man.
Yeah, Jim. So it's a bit of a story. So me and my business partner, John May. John May is from California, currently staying in North Carolina. He comes from the asphalt side of things, grew up in the high level of go-karting, kind of went on to some higher level four-wheel cars, and eventually money runs out for a lot of people, right? So he got into digital stuff when he was in college. And for myself, I was just a kid at heart, motorsport driven, loved Jeremy McGrath, loved Travis Pastrana. I had no connections to the motorsports industry. And when I was in high school, I had a little digital photo company selling T-shirts and hats. And then I, graduated and went on to MSJC, just in Marietta, Temecula area, well, actually in Menifee. And just going to school for some graphic design and stuff like that. And I'm walking down the intern aisle, and I see Jeremy McGrath's face on a billboard, and it says, looking for an internship for, our website to run Jeremy McGrath social media. And I'm like, holy, that's me. I really don't know how to do all this. I've never ran anyone's social media accounts or built websites, but I can sure say I have. And so I, long story short, I applied for this internship, and after a few months, I'm working for Jeremy McGrath on his short course team with the Lucas Oil Off-Road Series, and running all his social media, running his website, helping the team on the digital side of things. And so later down the road, me and John May after I kind of branch out and start For Those Who Create. He had his own company and his own digital deal out of Arizona, and he was really involved in the asphalt side. So him and I got connected through some mutual friends, and we went and worked on an alcohol project. It was just an alcohol company launching, so we were doing some content for it. And him and I had some bad Mexican food this day. So him and I are both in the restroom just throwing up our brains. And then after this, we're sitting down in front of our cars just before we part ways. And one of these, like you just mentioned, one of those Gucci bag Kim Kardashian giveaways pop up, right? And so him and I begin chatting, and John goes, man, what if we did this in the motorsports industry and we kind of targeted? And I go, man, why don't we give Jeremy McGrath a call and let's put this together? Well, how things kind of twisted. We ended up getting in touch with Twitch, Jeremy Twitch Stenberg, and massive shout out to Jeremy Twitch Stenberg. That guy is the most down to earth dude.
I
really
love
took
Twitch.
a chance on us, just a couple kids. Go ahead.
I said I love Twitch. He's just like you said, everything you said he's awesome, man.
He is the man, dude, and not only because of this. I actually looked up to the dude growing up. He was a complete idol of mine. I was a big Metal Militia head kid growing up, and but yeah, so we got in contact with him, and John and we cleared our bank accounts to make this happen. Bought our first 110 to give away. Paid the influencer Twitch, and we said, hey man, take the chance. I know this could be rough for your brand. It may not work. It may work. It may look weird. It may look scammy, quote unquote, but I think we have something going here. And so he's like, dude, let's do it. This sounds rad. DBK was kind of blowing up at the time, and as it is now. And so he took a chance, dude, and we launched this thing. And this was about 2.5 years ago, and we were all just tripping. We were like, what's going on? All of our clients gained 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 followers in 24 hours. And then our phones and our emails start blowing up. And dude, that was kind of the start of it. And here we are now, 26 giveaways later, worked with over 400, brands, from athletes, NASCAR, IndyCar, off-road, to the brands that are supplying these industries, So Yeah, man, it's been an absolute journey with starting this concept. Again, we just saw it as a quick, let's try making some money. Let's do something weird, because at the time, and we always say this was kind of how this blew up at the time, when we started this was the hype of, the quarantine. COVID was in the midst of everything. And so when we did this, John and I were also in this weird position because our digital companies kind of got hit, just like everyone else's business in this world got hit, but ours got hit in a different way because, as you know, digital advertising is a luxury to businesses, especially where we're at with it. And so when you got to make budget cuts, what's the first thing you're going to cut, right? It's going to be your social media team, your marketing, your ad spend, whatever. And so we got hit. And so that was kind of that urgency. Let's find something new. Let's do it. And then it turned into, this and the passion and the fun and the highs of giving back. And yeah, man, it's been a journey.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing I think is interesting. It's like, you guys kind of get your start in COVID. Like, one of the best things that come out of COVID, and I got to be careful with the way I word things, but there was some good that came out of that. But and I mean that in the creative way. Like, there was a lot of people sitting at home and that never had time on their hands, and then they had time on their hands. And some of the creativity in the digital world that came out, and some of the companies and brands. I mean, my brand has completely changed pre and post COVID. But it's crazy what came out of that. You know what I mean? And I feel like there was all this creativity with all these different people just sitting there that they never had the time to explore. And it was like COVID, at least for a window, there was that window right when COVID first hit where there was like 6 weeks, where everybody was at home. Nobody left. And, and it was like, what came out of that 6 weeks to 2 months, man, it's crazy. We're still seeing it and feeling it now. And I'm like, that shift in this industry completely changed everything. And, it's crazy that your company came out of that. I mean, my esports program, stuff like that birthed out of COVID. Like, there's so much that I think, there's so much bad with COVID, but there is some good that came out of it too. And I mean, Motorsports Curated definitely is one of them, man.
Yeah, no doubt. And just kind of backing on that esports thing, right? So when we had this whole concept, we were like, man, when we started to build on it after we gained some people, some followers, we really started to think like, wait a minute, all of these drivers, these NASCAR drivers, these IndyCar, these Stoke Car kids, the Supercross riders, they were going to these races, but remember, there was no fans in the stadiums. We only had the live stream. And like, what do these brands pay for? Right? They pay for their logo to be on their bikes, these cars. And when the fans are there, of course, the television side of it. But when the fans are there, they're getting connected with the brand, whatever. So you're like, man, there's a massive disconnect right now from these fans going to the races and learning who, for example, everyone knows who Travis Pastrana is, right? But you go to the NASCAR race, you're like, who's Travis Pastrana? Like, they didn't even get to have that. If you weren't watching it or you weren't there, you weren't figuring out this person or growing on that person. Maybe Travis wasn't the best example, right? But just that point, so we were like, man, like, we're giving the opportunity for all these athletes with their brand still giving them the sponsor spend to still grow, right? Because again, when someone has 5,000 followers or another driver that's in the same series on the same track at the same time has 100,000 followers, likely the guy with 100,000 followers is going to get bigger, brand deals and sponsorships because of they have bigger leverage and reach to an audience to sell that sponsor's product. That was our kind of thought when tackling the athlete side of it and realizing there's so much value there. And I feel like a lot of these athletes, when they get to this level, they forget about how important it is to still grow your social media, because that is the first point that people are going to meet with you outside of going to one of your races. They may never see you without a helmet other than your social media, right? So we've kind of just bridged that gap on the athlete side. And of course, for the brands that were affiliated with all these series, they weren't getting the love anymore. So that was kind of that whole thing within the COVID that really, really drove this concept.
Well, and you talk about social media, and it's interesting, too, because I think, I've experienced it, and it's social media, and it's specifically Instagram, because that's what you guys are working with. I know you got some TikTok stuff, things like that. But the first thing when I go into a prospective new partner, the first thing they do, they don't look at my Facebook, they don't look at my Twitter, they go to my Instagram. How many followers you got? They immediately see that number. Yep. You know what I mean? Before they even dive into engagement, everything else, they look at that number. And if that number's low, it's kind of, so there's a lot that's based off and judged off of that initially. But like you said, like what I've learned with my social media accounts is like to get that initial hit, I open up a new social media account, I can put something out, and immediately I'm going to get 1,000 followers. And then as you start putting some good organic content out, it starts to grow. But there's a point where it plateaus. And it gets really, really hard. And I don't care if you're, Jim Beaver or Travis Pastrana or whoever. I mean, that initial huge spike, that curve goes down and you're still growing, but it's very slow. It's a much slower rate. You know what I mean? The more you grab, the slower it goes. So it's like what you guys have been able to do is give us an organic way to get followers in the endemic, you know what I mean, into our accounts and things like that, where you can still continue that growth that you normally that tails off. It's pretty interesting what you guys have been able to do, and just seeing the followers. Like I'm in your new program right now with El Hombre, and I'm looking every day. I go in and look, and it's like, man, here's a moto kid, here's a UTV guy, here's a moto kid. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy crap, these are people that may have never saw me, or they may knew who I was, didn't follow, but this gave them a reason to follow. You know what I mean? Hopefully I can put out the content, you know what I mean, that keeps them engaged and things like that. But it's actually pretty genius what you guys came up with, man, because even like you said, the Gucci Kim Kardashian ones, like that, those type programs, like they might, people might jump into those and they might get some followers, but they all the people bow out as soon as it's over because it's like, I didn't win the bag. I'm unfollowing all these people. I don't care. But it's like with the people you've curated, like I get these followers, and yeah, sure, if you drop off, but most of them stay because they see the content and go, oh, this guy's producing stuff that we like. We'll stay around,
Exactly. Right. It's relatable. And that's what the relevancy in relating to what we do is what we built off as well is, we're not going to allow, for example, Cane's Chicken to come into our following within the motorsports, although everyone loves, chicken, so maybe they would. But we're all about relevancy because we want our followers to eventually convert or find interest in what Jim's doing, right? When he's out with his Kawasaki deals or when he's out with his Subaru, just all of those things that's relatable to people, right? Especially in the motorsports side. And another gap that we were trying to bridge was between NASCAR, motocross, IndyCar, motocross, right? Because we feel the fan base that motocross has is still like none other. Of course, we can compare F1 to that. That's like our soccer of the world. And I guess motocross is kind of on that too, but we really wanted a gap. Like we saw the disconnect, how, Jimmy Johnson has 400,000 followers, and you have some of these kids that are just not even to the pros yet. And motocross may have over 100,000 followers, right? And we're like, what is this disconnect? I mean, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr., absolute legends in four wheels. I mean, if you know anything about a motor, those are like household names, right? And so we were like, why is there such this disconnect? And we understand why, just the industries and how it is and whatever that is, but that's all we're trying to disconnect. And I really hope with everything we've done is we've hopefully found some new NASCAR fans, just some new IndyCar fans that never realized they like that stuff, and now they're watching, right? And so it's all at the end of the day to grow all angles of motorsports while giving back. But then also when we're doing these giveaways, we're paying these riders, right? Of course, they may not need our money, but everything we're doing is also still putting money back into these riders, which are doing an absolute insane job day in, day out, right? When they're training, when they're on the track racing for us, when we're drinking a beer in the stands, it's something they're doing. So that's also another amazing feeling to give back to some of my childhood heroes that we've worked with and the sport, right? We want to keep these guys paid and keep them healthy and riding,
Yeah, well, and I think, there's two things you take away from that. You know what I mean? What you just said, keeping them healthy and paid. I mean, I agree because, the era of these massive seven-figure deals for whether it be an IndyCar guy or Supercross or, an X Games, a freestyle guy, like there was this period where there was crazy money. It was like drunken money being thrown around. And, there was a window there where there were some athletes that got paid a ton of money. But to get to the caliber of, say, Brian Deegan nowadays is so much harder because the money's harder to find. So what you guys are doing, even on the athlete side, these guys that are participating, like Jason Anderson, and you mentioned Jeremy McGrath, things like that, but all these guys you've had, like, it gives them another little profit center to make some money on the side, which I think is crucial because, as much as we laugh, it's, a Jet Lawrence, who I know you guys are doing some stuff with too, it's going to be a whole lot harder for that kid to make millions and millions of dollars than, say, it was 10 years ago for somebody to make millions and millions of dollars in Supercross. And it's nothing against, anybody. It's just the way things have shifted now,
Exactly. The evolution of it, right? And yeah, I mean, just even on Jet Lawrence, right? Kid's an absolute savage. He's 100% going to be our next Jeremy McGrath, right? When it comes to the fan base, the love, the look, and then of course just the consistency and just dominating when he's on the track, right? So just I guess kind of touching what we did this year with Jet. I mean, this is another big deal, right? I don't know if there's many marketing companies that have came into Supercross and sponsored, top tier athletes like Jet, but as of this year, we became an official partner for the entire 23 season of Jet Lawrence. And kind of what that entails is is we are a sponsor of him. We are backing his program. And we're going to be doing these giveaways with him, multiple different types. We're also dipping into the data side of things to help people grow on their email marketing and stuff like that. Again, while giving back, and just being involved in the community, right? We really realized that we've found ways to drive traffic with meaning and purpose through these giveaways. And like I just talked about on all the different angles of this, all the positive angles of it. And so now we're like, how else can we do this, right? Let's get involved with events. Let's help grow a VIP section for Jet or whatever that may be. So a little bit of what that entails is just really throwing these events. We're going to have signing parties. We're going to do some stuff for outdoors with Jet. So just, again, try to bring the community together and keep building these fan bases up. Again, I just went to A1 and I was in disbelief. I actually live right near the Angel Stadium. And this was in the last 4 or 5 years, I would say this is one of the most packed Supercrosses I've ever seen. It was, I think that they said like 58,000 people were at the stadium. I don't even think the Angels don't even put that many fans in the stadiums, right? And that's the Angel Stadium. And it's just crazy to see like how much opportunity still is there to, get, value from all the fans and having them connect with these riders. And so that's just kind of some of the plans we have with Jet this year. It should be pretty fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I love that you guys are jumping into the data side. And I think, anybody getting involved in one of these programs, from an athlete standpoint, trying to increase their following, things like that, like, I tell a lot of people because, a lot of people look at the Instagram numbers or they look at a TikTok number and go, oh, I got X amount of followers, I get X amount of views. But you start diving, and I do a deep dive. I have a media company just like you know what I mean? And it's like, I go, yep. I know you guys are, toying with the email and things like that and generating email addresses. And I'll ask like a new athlete that I'm dealing with or something. All right. Yeah. You got 12,000 Instagram followers. How many people are on your email list? They go, what do you mean? What do you mean email list? I'm like, how many people are on your email list? They're like, maybe like 20 or 30 people. And I was like, so 20 or 30? And they're like, how many do you have? I'm like, I've got 35,000. And they go, what? And I'm like, yeah, I've been working at it. You know what I mean? But I'm like, so you have 12,000, but you really can only reach, 30 of those people via, you know what I mean? Via email, like when you have a press release, something. And I'm like, you guys are, it's funny because you guys are a company that are doing these promotions, things like that. But I think there's also, listening to what you're doing, there's an educational process, and people don't even realize when they're getting involved in these promotions how you're helping how you're helping these brands and these athletes along, you know what I mean? Just because there's an educational process with it too. And I see the stuff you're going, hey, we're expecting X amount of followers and X amount of engagement, and this athlete gets this type of engagement, so we're basing your total following off this. And I'm like, you're educating people as they go along, and I don't even think a lot of the people jumping in and getting involved in these promotions realize what they're learning.
No, and that's exactly it. And that's what our big goal this year is teach, right? To teach and inform the value of this, because we don't want people thinking, of course, there's a fee to be a part of our campaigns, right? But that's how we crowdfund, right? We're not just pulling all this money, right? There always has to be an ROI on things, right? As we all know, running a business, you need that. So yeah, so we're crowdfunding these things. We're giving the money. We buy the bikes. These brands are giving it to us. So we just want people to know it's not just a quick money grab. Like, we actually have a passion for this industry. We don't want it to die. Coming from Lucas Oil, seeing how that just shut down, and I had so much passion with that. And now at one point we had Brian Deegan, Travis Pastrana doing his random appearances. We had Jeremy McGrath every weekend. At one point we had Ronnie Feist and Jeremy Twitch-Stenberg in the series. Like, there was a high of that series. And I just feel there's been some disconnects in the digital world to, just the marketing things kind of fade away slowly. And like, we don't want that to happen to any other industry within this motorsports world. And so it's like all these little things will start to add up. And I think if people can see that purpose and value in it, they'll kind of let go of the ego side of it. And like, oh, we're not trying to get 5 followers. Like, no, man, we're trying to help grow the motorsports. We're trying to help grow the community while giving back to a kid that's bike we may give that 8-year-old kid. He might be the next James Stewart. He might be the next Ricky Carmichael. Who knows, right? So again, everything we're doing is within purpose. And like you said, is to help these athletes be bigger than what they even intend right now. And they think that's just a couple followers, but there's so much more to it. And again, I think that's our goal this year, is to really teach and inform. And I think when people catch that, it'll be a lot more of a consistent thing,
Yeah, well, and I completely agree. And like we talked about, the industry's changed, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate and fortunate, I guess, both, depending on the way you look at it. But it's like, you can't just be a racer anymore. And I tell people this, and I've spoken at a lot of conferences, things like that. And my first line is you're not a racer. They go, what do you mean? I'm like, you're a marketing company. If you're not approaching things that way, I was like, you're failing already. I was like, I don't care if you go out and win, 7 out of 10 races this year. I'm like, if nobody knows about it, you failed. And You know what I mean? And I'm like,
Exactly.
and I was like, that's not going to move
Exactly.
the needles for these companies. I'm like, you need to be a marketing company. And I tell everybody, I'm like, whether they're race car drivers, if they're a kid, starting out on dirt bikes, I'm like, so say X company gives you $1,000. I was like, so what are you going to do with that 1,000? Oh, I'm going to buy, a new top end, and I'm going to do this, and it's entry fees. I'm like, if you're not earmarking 25% of that for digital content, I'm like, you're failing already. I'm like, 25% of any check should go immediately back into the marketing, media, social, things like that, and it's just, it's the name of the game now, and if anybody's not approaching it that way, you're not going to succeed. You're not going to be around very long anyways.
No, it's very true. And just kind of using Jet as an example, look at Jet. I mean, look how he's built a marketing brand. I mean, any brand that attaches themselves to him at this moment is going to have that attention. They have the older demographic looking at him because, wow, this kid's really crushing it. Then you have the younger demographic that are like, I killed to be Jet Lawrence one day, right? And it's like, and it's again, it's if you're not going to reinvest into your marketing, it's like, how are you ever going to reinvest in these brands that are investing into you? It's kind of a continuous cycle you have to do. And Jet and his team, Lucas Myrtle over there, they absolutely crushed that concept. And what's even more amazing is we never thought that an athlete like Jet Lawrence would want to be affiliated with us. But again, these people see the value in it, how we're reaching this demographic and the outreach to in the positive way for these athletes, because it's not just us. Like Jason Anderson, Jet Lawrence, Ricky Carmichael, they are giving a bike away as well to their audience, right? It is their voice. So it's not only like we're trying to get the attention, it's like we're also, Ricky Carmichael's doing something for the community as well. So, and I think when people start to see that, it's going to be a big shift in at least what we're doing. And that's why we're trying to add some more value. Emails, like you said, you having 35,000 emails, if that's fans, businesses, other drivers, it's still being outreach to the community and letting it grow and finding that growth in it, right? Even these podcasts, us talking about right now, this digital disconnect or the connect within the motorsports industry is huge. And it might raise some eyebrows within people that are in the motorsports industry day to day. So yeah, it's just really interesting. Again, we never knew the animal that we created. We come from the marketing space, and so that's probably what fueled that. But it's it's a real blessing, and we really look forward to keep crushing it this year for everybody.
Yeah, well, and I know we get a lot of listeners here that they hear athletes, and sometimes I go down rabbit holes and stuff like that, but they take little tidbits away, and fortunate that I've been able to, in the past 12 years, interview Ken Block and pick his brain about marketing, things like that, and people pick things up like that. But one of the takeaways I'm learning from you, like, or one of the takeaways from this, it's whether it's your promotion or these athletes, you're talking about Jet Lawrence and what he's doing media wise. And I tell everybody, I'm like, if you're a racer, if you're young up and coming, whether you're racing UTVs, you're racing dirt bikes, if you're going up the road to Indy ladder, whatever, I'm like, your goal should be to guarantee ROI to any partner that gets involved before you hit the racetrack. And I go, that's how I've been successful in this industry, because my partners, they care what I do on the racetrack, but it doesn't really matter what I do on the racetrack, because they know whether I win or I get last or I get zero TV time, they've already got this ROI from podcasts, social media, video content, email, website content, everything else. I'm like, you look at Ken Block. You look at, you look at any of these guys, Travis Pastrana, Brian Deegan, they can guarantee ROI. So it doesn't matter what they do in competition. It's already there, and that's why they continue to get sponsors. And, what you said about Jet, you just hit the nail on the head. It's like Jet Lawrence, we all know Jet's going to be one of the greatest motocross racers, in the next 3 or 4 years. But it's like, and we know he's going to win a lot of races, but at the end of the day, Jet's already guaranteeing ROI with the way he's carrying himself on social media and the content and everything else he's producing, So it's like he's going to continue to have sponsors, continue to push him, because they know, hey, Jet's money in the bank.
Exactly. And for us too, I mean, like we're not really looking at it this year where our goal is to not make a buck and just make sure we keep this thing growing. That's our whole shift in our company this year. And it's exactly that. When we had this opportunity to attach ourselves to Jet, it was like, we don't care how much, we don't care what we have to do this. Like, let's do it, right? Because again, he has all the TV time. He's checked out on his first race. Knock on wood, right? Let's knock on all the wood possible. But it was just a massive opportunity. And again, on his team's behalf, they reached out to us with kind of offering us this, and had this kind of concept. We were like, oh my God, like this has been a dream of ours. When we started this, we never thought in a million years we would get James Bubba Stewart to post on his Instagram. I mean, that is crazy. I mean, when you look at his Instagram now, it's absurd. It's just crazy.
Yeah, well, I laugh because that was the one that shocked me. And I give you guys a lot of credit. You've got some rad guys, but when I heard James Bubba Stewart was doing something with you guys, I'm like, how the hell did you guys pull this off? This is crazy. Like, and I love Bubba. I'm a massive Bubba fan, but Bubba turned into, he kind of went into his cave there for a couple years, and I know why, because of Malcolm, and he kind of wanted the spotlight to be on Malcolm, and I literally respect the hell out of James for what he did to help, let his brother have his moment in the spotlight. But I'm like, when you guys pulled that out, I'm like, high five, man, like high five, because there's not many people that can pull James out like that, man. I love his podcast now and everything else. I'm like, oh, James is back. Like, we get that personality and stuff like that. When you guys pulled that one, I was like, high five, bro. Like, you guys nailed it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, and for me, man, I was the biggest Bubba fan growing up. I mean, the diehard, he was the dude I watched for every race. That's who I went to watch and who I went to see at the pits. And that was a really big one. Ken Johnson, familiar name from Lucas and in the marketing world. He's been a massive. Yeah, he's the man. He really stuck his hand out there and brought a lot of business and brought a lot of clients his way. And, he's really involved in the marketing for the motorsports space. And so he had some connections, right, with Roger Larson, which is their manager and, of course, the co-host on Bubba's World podcast. And they had a good relationship. And so, obviously, we all partnered up on that campaign and made it come to life. And just, again, that was even the fact that it was even an option, right? Bubba doesn't need the pay that we're doing. No, he generally, when we got a full tour of the Bubba compound, which that was a complete time capsule. That was a high of its own, getting a tour of the Bubba compound that I played in video games growing up as a kid. That was insane, right? And he personally took us on this tour, seeing all his dad's cars, all the trophies, all of their trophy cars. That was really rad. But again, like when he told us, he's like, man, like I didn't do this because we need the payday or anything like that. He's like, I genuinely like what you guys have going. Because again, I'm coming out again, I'm doing these podcasts. He's getting involved, as you guys seen, on the E-Series and a couple other things that's in the works. And so when we saw him chat about this, he's like, I generally like what you guys got going. Like, this is pretty rad. And he understands like the outreach and everything we're talking about now. So again, that's our whole goal. It's like, if we can get all of these athletes and influencers and legends of the sport to really believe like what we're doing, like yourself, like that's the fuel that we need to keep going. Because if James is saying to go do this, like James not going to do something that's going to, hurt his brand or his personal image for a quick payday. None of these guys are, right? Because they still realize there's value there. And if there's still good purpose. And when they're giving away these bikes, with Jeremy McGrath giving away a Kawasaki, that's great for Kawasaki, right? So it's always a win-win for everybody. Everything we do here is we want the athletes winning, we want the fans winning, and then of course we still win on the end, right? So, and of course all of our clients, because they're now, like you said, you've grown X amount of followers with us, and it benefits you in all these different places. So that's that rad part. I mean, just the fact that Bubba did this was absolutely mental. It's crazy.
I love, and part of me loves, I was actually really fortunate here about 2 years ago. I sat down with Brian Deegan in at his compound when he was still there in Temecula. We sat down and had a video crew, and we sat down. We did like an hour and a half, 2 hours with Brian sitting down. He started talking about Pastrana and how they've become friends and stuff like that, and he was talking about like their beef back in the day and now how they're best of friends. They joke about it, stuff like that. But like to see Bubba and Ricky like sit down together now and like laugh and joke and stuff like that. I'm like, those guys had some wars, some absolute wars, and to see them like I'm loving all these storylines for these guys that we saw like a decade ago, that were just literally at each other's throats, and now they're just laughing and joking and and friends and stuff like that. I'm like, how rad is that we're at a point in this industry where that can actually happen, and then obviously you guys are helping share the stoke and everything else, and I don't know, it's a fun place to be in this industry, especially for guys like you and I who it's just funny for me, and I'm sure you're the same way. Like all these guys I looked up to as a kid, now they're actually good friends of mine. And I'm like, how has this even happened where I'm friends with these guys that I looked up to? But it's like the legends lived up to the hype. And that's one of the coolest things I've said. It's like all these guys I looked up to, they're actually legit guys. And it was worth me looking up to them, and it's like, that's one of my favorite things about this industry is to find out when, your heroes, they live up to the hype.
Dude, Jim, to back that, right? So again, my first ever social media gig I had when stepping in the digital world was around 19, and it was that internship with Jeremy McGrath, and it wasn't Jeremy McGrath that I directly reached out to. It was to Lou Lawrence. Lou Lawrence was his manager at the time for all of the short course and Jeremy, and he, as you guys know, Steel Roots and all the movies that he's done in his time, and legendary filmmaker, but he's the one that really took the chance on me And, I had zero experience. I mean, I completely lied on my resume. When I said lied, I just juiced up my business that I had and made myself presentable. I even rolled in to Jeremy McGrath's race shop in a full tuxedo suit. Not tux, but like, a blazer, the tie, the white shirt tucked in, hair slicked back, like it looked like I was going to a, Fortune 500 interview because I didn't know, right? And I was just going to meet, going to apply for my childhood hero. I mean, at this time, probably 4 or 5 years prior to this, my mom and my parents had just got rid of all of my Jeremy McGrath and Travis Pastrana bedding and backpacks and trash cans that I had from this little No Fear or whatever that was that they released a while back. And it was just an absolute trip. And that first, or the second time after they said, all right, come on, like, I was parking cars at a local dealership. I was just a porter. And so I was calling in from my shifts to go hang out at the shop. I would do social media part-time, and then I'd wash Jeremy's truck, or if he just got back from the track, and I would wash his dirt bike real quick, unasked, just because I was putting that time in, putting that effort to really be a part of it. And eventually got to the point I was like, hey guys, like, I got a couple bills. I need to make some money. And they're like, hey, how much do you need? Like, so I was telling them I got to stop coming. I got to go work actually, And they said, what do you need? Told them what I needed, and it was a wrap. And I remember the first time sitting down with Jeremy, it was just like, oh man, like, I've heard rumors, or when you meet your hero, they could be a jerk, or it's not what you thought. And man, the entire time I worked with Jeremy, he was the most down-to-earth, level-headed person I've ever been around, considering he's had fame that I'll never understand, right? From the movies to the Charlie's Angels to just, he was the man, right? All the commercials. And it was just, man, it was amazing traveling the country with him. And he just, no matter who you were, a fan, someone that worked for him, his boss, the sponsor, he looked at you and talked to you exactly the same and gave you the same respect 24/7. And that right there that did it. I was like, man, this is rad, Yeah. So that was a really good experience, just really seeing the heroes and seeing that they're who you hope they are,
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because it's like I got a full circle story kind of like that, but it was like my first big announcing job was with Red Bull Global Rallycross, and we're talking, a decade plus ago. Just one of their first years, and anyways, I kept hitting up the guy at Red Bull GRC. Let me come out and do a radio show. He's like, we don't really have any budget. They were still growing, whatever. And he goes, like what you're doing, Jim. We don't have any, don't have any budget for that. And he goes, we need an announcer for a couple of races. Our other guys conflicted or whatever. He goes, we need an announcer. Do you know any announcers? And I said, I'm an announcer. He goes, really? And I said, yeah, and I can do a radio show out there, when I'm not announcing. And he goes, you're hired. And he goes, can you be in Atlanta next week? And I'm like, absolutely can be in Atlanta. He goes, I'm putting you in touch with our travel agent, book you a flight. So here I am, like, flying with a trunk of radio equipment to Atlanta. And truthfully, I kind of fudged a little bit. I had announced one race, and it was literally like a local dirt bike race. And it was like me standing there with a microphone when they cross the finish line, doing like a 10-second interview with these people in front of like 10 people. So yeah, technically I hadn't announced, but it wasn't really on the scale of Atlanta Motor Speedway and, and 20,000 people there. So I roll in Atlanta Motor Speedway, dude, that whole week. I started playing like YouTube videos and like stuff I had DVR'd of Rallycross, and I'm like literally muting it and pretending I'm calling the race and stuff like that. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do?
That's so rad.
So I get to Atlanta Motor.
So rad.
Yeah, I get to Atlanta Motor Speedway, and they're like, all right, you need to go up in the tower. They'll be up there with all the equipment, get you started. So literally I'm taking the elevator to the top of the tower, Atlanta Motor Speedway, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? Like, this is going to be bad. My career's over. And I roll up, and they give me this book of stuff I'm supposed to say and reads, and I didn't know what the hell I was looking at in this binder or whatever. And they go, all right, here's run a show. And I'm like, I didn't know what a run a show was. I didn't know anything. And they're like, read through it and this and that. We get started here in about 10 minutes. So I'm reading through going, oh, crap, I'm in trouble. And so they end up going, all right, we're going to go live here, and you got to, do this announcement, and then we throw it down to the guy that's going to do the national anthem. I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? So then they count me down. They're like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I freaking froze, man. I was like, I just froze. And the guy, they kind of look, and then they pause real quick, and they're like, everything all right? I'm like, yeah, just give me a second. I had something in my throat. They're like, okay. 3, 2, 1, and they threw it to me, and I just somehow nailed it and rolled the entire day. And afterwards, they're like, man, you're really good. We got tomorrow's racing, but can you be at Charlotte here in next week? And I'm like, absolutely. And somehow, dude, I came out looking like roses, but it was like, I believed in myself, but it was like, it's one of those crazy stories. Well, I go full circle here because I had interviewed, actually, I don't know if I'd interviewed Travis before or not. But my first real in-person interaction with Travis was like literally the next week, and we're at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and we're at the dirt track, and they're running rallycross there. And so Trav, they have this autograph thing with all these, they got all these legends lined up sitting there, you know what I mean, signing. That's when Dave Mira, everybody else was, in Red Bull Global Rallycross. There was a window there of like Bucky Lassick, Dave Mira.
Bucky Lassick was there.
Yeah. Brian Deegan, you know what I mean, like Ken Block, Travis. I mean, it was crazy the talent they had there for like a year or two. But so, Trav's signing autographs, and they're like, yeah, this autograph thing goes an hour. And obviously Travis has lines wrapped around the speedway to get his autograph, and everybody else is kind of bowed out. And when it was over and Trav just sitting there signing, the lines just getting longer and longer, and everybody's like, they go, Trav, this thing's over, we got to shut the lights off. And he goes, well, I still got people in line. And they go, all right, we'll give you 5 more minutes or something. They come back and they shut the lights off. They're like, Trav, you got to go. And he looked at him, he goes, I'm not going. And they go, well, this is over, we got to lock up, send everybody home. He goes, send them home. He goes, just give me the key, I'll lock the gate. And they go, what do you mean? He goes, look at these people wrapped around the stadium. He goes, I'm not leaving. And they go, it's dark. Like, this thing's over. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And Trav goes, I'm not leaving until every single one of these people has an autograph. Trav goes, these people are why I'm here today. And he goes, I won't leave until every single one of them has an autograph. Anybody here is more than welcome to leave. He goes, I promise you I will lock the gate when I leave. But he goes, I'm not getting up from this table until every single one of these people has an autograph. He literally sat there for another 2.5 hours signing autographs. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And, you know what I mean? And finally before he left, but I was like, dude, like, that's a guy that gets it. That's a guy that understands, he would have much rather been at his hotel room or having a drink or something like that and worrying about the next race day or, the race the next day. But he sat there till almost midnight signing autographs for every single person after they'd even shut the lights out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I was like, dude, that guy, class act right there, Pastrana. All right, and we're going way long here, but we got to take a short commercial break. We'll come back with more with Albert at Motorsports Curated right here on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. When it's time to replace the tires on your vehicle, General Tire delivers the tires you need for both your next big adventure and your daily commute. Whether you need all-season traction, lasting treadwear, or a quiet drive, General Tires are designed to deliver whatever life brings your way. From all-season ultra-high-performance tires for passenger cars and crossovers to extreme all-season mud terrain and tires for light trucks and SUVs, General Tire delivers great performance. To find your ideal tire, visit GeneralTire.com. General Tire, official tire of the Jim Beaver Show. Don't just shred your way through any off-road rugged terrain. Get into gear with GSP XTV and let us redefine your adventure. The GSP advantage of quality and performance sets a standard for UTV axles. We strive to provide premium ATV and UTV axles to keep you shreddy ready. Kick up some dirt and get in the driver's seat with GSP XTV. With over 35 years of experience, drive with a company you can trust. Drive with GSP. For more information, please visit us at gspxtv.com today. When looking for a new wheel for your off-road vehicle, car, truck, or UTV, the choice is easy. You choose what the pros use. Rob McCachran, Keegan Kincaid, and myself, Jim Beaver, all exclusively use Vision Wheel, whether we're dominating Baja, taking the cup at Crandon, or shredding UTVs. Vision Wheel's trend-setting designs and durability will set you apart from the competition and your friends. Check out visionwheel.com or at Vision Wheel on social media to learn more.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Social media? Yeah, that's on lock. It's at Jim Beaver 15 on all major platforms, and hit up at General Tire and at Kawasaki USA while you're there. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. And, before the break, well, we've gone long. We've almost talked an hour without any breaks. Those of you who want this interview uncut, you can go and check out our podcast feed because we'll air it, about a week later, and it'll be raw, uncut. But we just recently got done talking about Travis Pastrana and some of the ways he carries himself, man. Albert, where did we leave off, dude?
Dude, Travis the freaking man. And again, that just backs all of his morals and reasons why he's at where he's at today. Look at everything he's built and everything's been with purpose. The fans. I mean, I'm sure have you been on one of the Nitro Circus shows, the live shows that they do?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. I've been backstage like 4 or 5 times, dude. It's insane.
Dude, it's insane. And again, I just actually went to my first one. I've been to all the X Games when they're in LA, but I went to this for show and I was like, wow, again, I mean, he wasn't there, but it was the fact of just how engaging they were with the fans. And they realized, like, without these people, we don't have a job, right? Without the fans, we have no purpose of doing what we do, everything we do. I mean, I'll never forget, Jim, I was, I think I was 6 years old when I was 8 years old, 2006, Staples Center, double backflip. I was with my uncle and my dad, and we were there for the double backflip, and I will never, ever forget that feeling. It was euphoric. I mean, it looked fake when he pulled this off. And just another little full circle story here. When you actually watch 199 Live, his movie that was in the theaters back when, and now you can find it wherever, when you look and Travis's mom is crying, and Malcolm and Casey is standing there holding his mom, and I was right there behind, like, Andy Bell, they're announcing. Like, you see me, when I went to go watch this in the movie theater, you see my little head just sitting right behind them. And it's just so crazy now. Like, I work with Malcolm, and we do stuff together. He always supports Motorsports Curated really heavily. And it is a complete trip, just like how being such a massive fan of TP, Nitro Circus, of being there. And, like, now we're just involved in the community, talk to Malcolm weekly. And just again, Malcolm was another one of those dudes growing up. I was like, wow, like, I didn't understand what Malcolm did because I was so young. I didn't understand marketing, positioning, strategy, purpose of just some of the people, right? But now I understand everything Malcolm was doing at that time and still currently. But it was just another full circle story. Like, wow, I was just that little kid above Malcolm's shoulder in the thing, and now we work together trying to work on projects, just all sorts of fun things. And, dude, it's crazy just what motorsports and how it brings the community together. It's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, everybody hears all the, I don't want to say the bad stories, but a lot of people hear the bad stories, and there are some sharks in the industry and things like that. But I feel like, there's so much more good than there is bad in the industry, and it's just sad that a lot of these good stories behind the scenes and the people that give back and the people that do things, those don't get publicized nearly as much as, you know what I mean, the bad stuff that pops up, you know what I mean? But there is such an amazing group of, I want to say friends, but it's more like family around the country, where any city I go to, like, people welcome me with open arms, and I got a spare bedroom and this and that. And I'm not just talking people that I know. I mean, I'm talking racers and, and some of these superstars. Like, it's such an amazing group of people that are down to earth and humble, and it's like behind the scenes, you know what I mean? It's like when you get to know these people, it's pretty amazing, the warmth of this industry, man.
I couldn't agree more, and I even actually saw a little bit of that. So we're just us being on, like, the Baja and off-road side of the things. Within For Those Who Create, we run like Brentel Industries and Baja Kits, all their branding, marketing, and their social media. And so this past Mint 400 was actually, because I only been around the Supercross and short course series, I've been very knowledgeable on what's happening, but I've not really got to experience an off-road race. And just like seeing how, like, the industry, right, within the pits, and just how people are helping, there's an urgency, or you see another team struggling, how people jam over there and help them. Like, well, you guys are competing against each other, but you know what? I'm going to go over there and still help them because it looks like they're struggling. I'm going to help them get the tire off, put another one on, send them on their way. There's no dollar, nothing exchange. It's just here to help each other. And I started to see some of that, and you saw a little bit of that in short course and, asking people for parts or spares or whatever. And it's like, man, like, if I was racing somebody around the track on feet, I would hope that they slip so I win. But it's like, it's just so rad how I see so much, I guess, not so much selfishness or, people are just still arms out, although you still want to beat that guy,
Yeah.
So that's just backing how amazing this community really is.
Yeah, well, and I think that's what's rad. Like, these guys, literally, whether you're talking about Supercross, and obviously there are some rivalries, but off-road, things like that. Like, I've got some guys, that I've gone to war with in off-road, you know what I mean? And we're banging on each other, passing each other. Like, it's a hard race, but, like, as soon as the race is over, it's like, high five, man, and let's have a beer. Like, that was a great race. It's like, it's like I think our industries, I call it action motorsports industry. I know NASCAR's a little more cutthroat at times, things like that. But the action motorsports industry, I feel like there's a lot of that where it's just, you go to war, but at the same time, those same people would go to war for you, and it's pretty cool feeling, you know what I mean, to be in an industry like that.
Yeah, and you want that guy that you're beating. You want him to be there because the less trucks that fall off, the less cars, trucks, UTVs, whatever, that bikes, whatever it may be, then we don't have a race. Right? And so it's quite crazy, man. It's just the industry is at a really fun and interesting time right now. And currently I'm actually staring, while we're chatting, I'm staring at we're just here in downtown San Diego and staring at the Petco. And I'm just actually still trying to wonder, like, why isn't Supercross at this Petco stadium this weekend? I mean, the Snapdragon Stadium's cool, but I'm just like, man, there's so much seats. And I'm seeing that. I mean, they're going to sell the Snapdragon out, but it is a big wonder why it's at this new stadium. I'm sure there's something with the city or whatever that may be, but it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I love that downtown area of San Diego. That's, gas lamp district and everything else. Like, it's freaking awesome down there.
Oh, it's a big vibe down here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this weekend and cheering on Jet, and hopefully he puts it up on the podium again. And like that, there's going to be a lot of anticipation. I was super bummed last weekend when I didn't get to have the feed up watching Moto. It was a little weird when Supercross season hits and they cancel you already like that.
Yeah, that was wild. Well, I did get a laugh, though, and I had to share it. I can't remember who it was. It was one of the ex-Supercross riders, and I can't remember which one, but he shared a picture. He goes, "This is why we aren't having Supercross in Oakland." And it was literally like the track map, and he just drawn a bunch of water in it. Like, it was like the jankiest Photoshop job ever, but it was so janky, it was hilarious. And I was just like, oh, man.
It was so perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so rad. I mean, dude, that was a big deal. I don't think ever, at least in my time, or I've remembered a Supercross race being canceled like that. I mean, that was pretty erupt. And so, I mean, it kind of worked out in our favor because we got to go kind of get our campaign together and launch with Anderson. And we also have some fun stuff with Anderson in the works. We're going to probably do, some of the data stuff and some micro giveaways. So, some of the fans, if there's any fans listening, and you're going to be seeing some of these micro giveaways. So what we're going to kind of be doing with those as well is like this weekend, Jet Lawrence, we're going to be giving away his worn, goggles in the race, win, lose, whatever, to a fan, and all they have to do is sign up with their name, number, and phone number. And, again, now our clients get to grow with an audience that really matters, right? All those people signing up to win that, if they could, they would be at that race, tomorrow night. So that'll be something fun. People get to participate in as well. It should be pretty cool.
That's awesome, man. Well, I know obviously we got Jason Anderson, that campaign going on currently, just launched about a week or so ago, and then obviously you've got the season-long thing going on with Jet Lawrence. Obviously, where can people get more information they want to get involved and try and win some of these awesome Kawasaki's given away with Jason Anderson?
Yeah, Jim, so if everyone just, heads over to @Motorsports Curated on Instagram and make sure it's the right one. We have the right following because there is a lot of scam accounts around this. We are working overnight to get that just, resolved and away. So we're working on that. But yeah, head over to @Motorsports Curated. You can find me at Albert Garcia and our website, www.motorsportscurated.com. And we'll be able to, help you grow as an athlete, brand, or anything else. So yeah, look forward to reaching out to some of you guys.
Awesome, man. Well, we are going to take a short break. We'll be back after this on the General Tire Jim Beaver Show. Making the most of every moment can be demanding, which is why at General Tire, we think you should demand more from your tires. For more than a century, we've made great all-around tires that always deliver the right combination of performance, durability, style, and value. Whether you're looking at the ultra-high-performance summer tires for your street rod or the best-in-class all-weather tire for your family crossover, General Tire delivers for those who demand more from their tires. Find your fit at GeneralTire.com. General Tire, the official tire of the Jim Beaver Show.
Life is all about sound, the sound of sports, the sound of the racetrack, and the sound of your vehicle. Don't drive around listening to this. Drive around listening to the sound of performance. Gibson Performance. Gibson Performance Exhaust is the company who can turn this into this. Remember that life is all about sound, and Gibson Exhaust is the sound of performance. Check out your next catback exhaust system, headers, muffler, or UTV exhaust at GibsonPerformance.com and get more power and more sound.
Thanks for listening to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Available on SiriusXM, AM/FM networks across the country, and the U.S. American Forces Network. Head over to JimBeaver15.com for all the details. Welcome back to the General Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Wrapping up today's episode, my good friend Albert, Motorsports Curated. Thanks for hanging out for the better part of an hour. Make sure and go check him out on Instagram, Motorsports Curated, man. They're giving away dirt bikes, doing a lot to give back to the community. If you're an athlete influencer, man, they can help you grow your program as well, doing some good stuff. I don't know. Like I said, we're getting 2023 kicked off here. I know it's mid-January, but full send now into the new year. I'll be out of KOH for pretty much the full pull, doing 3 shows there. And I've got this new KRX4 Electra build that I've been teasing, and I'm full knee-deep into that. Been filming content for the last 3 weeks on my KRX and on my KX dirt bike. I got some cool rides going on, a bunch of rad stuff. Obviously, we got Supercross in full swing. We got San Diego this weekend. I'm lock-loaded, tuned into that. And, man, it's going to be one hell of a 2023, that's for sure. And thank you guys for your continued support. Big thanks to all our amazing partners, General Tire, Kawasaki, Rigid Industries, Gibson Exhaust, Vision Wheel, Dirtfish Rally School, GSP XTV Axles, our good friends at Clean Freak, and everybody who continues to support us and the show. It's going to be a lot of fun in 2023, and couldn't do it without their continued support. Obviously, do me a big favor, though. We're trying to grow our podcast numbers. We kill it on SiriusXM. Need your help, though. Please go over to Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button, and leave a quick review or a rating. It helps us out, boosts us up the charts. And check out our website, JimBeaver15.com. Chris is our staff writer, dropping content daily over there, and lots of good stuff. So, I don't know. That's enough of the advertisements. I think it's time for me to sign off for this week and say we'll see you next time right here on the Gentle Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. And that's a wrap for this edition of the Gentle Tire Jim Beaver Show with Good Times by Kawasaki. Thanks for listening. Be sure and head to Apple Podcasts, subscribe to the show, and follow at JimBeaver15, at Gentle Tire, and at Kawasaki USA on social media. Itching for more? JimBeaver15.com has all the latest. We'll see you next time.